Hey guys, recently I made this butter chicken and it is without a doubt one of the nicest things I've ever made. It is really tricky though and has a lot of steps, so don't worry, I'm going to talk you through them. Start by cutting up about 8 chicken breasts and add them to a pot, followed by the juice of 4 limes. This is the first marinade. Then about 3 tablespoons of Kashmiri chili powder and about a teaspoon of salt. Then mix it all up and put it in the fridge for about an hour while you make the second marinade. For the second marinade, start by grinding up some cumin and adding it to a blender with garlic cloves and fresh ginger. About 10 garlic cloves and about 50 grams of ginger, and blitz it all up. Always use whole spices when you can, it's so important. It's so much better than using the powdered stuff you buy. Then add about 100 grams of natural yogurt. Mix that up as well. Then add 100 milliliters of double cream and 2 teaspoons of garam masala, 2 teaspoons of turmeric, and optionally you can use 2 teaspoons of beetroot powder. This won't give it a whole lot of flavour, but it just makes the marinade intensely red, as you can see there. You then add that paste to your marinating chicken and you mix it all up until it looks like this. Really, really nice, really good. I've never seen raw chicken look so tasty. You then stick it in the fridge overnight until the next day you lay it out on a baking rack in a single layer, and then you roast it at 200 degrees Celsius for about a half an hour. Then you set it aside until you add it to the sauce later. Then take 3 separate cups and add spices to them according to when you add them to the sauce. So in the first cup you add about 2 tablespoons of freshly ground Kashmiri chilies. Add them to the green cup. I'm using green, white and orange cups, so I remember the order in which they go in. Green is first. Then I add coriander seeds and cumin seeds, hoping to get about a teaspoon of each when they're ground. A teaspoon is really just a suggestion, it doesn't matter if you go overboard. Same goes for the cinnamon. I'm hoping to get about a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, followed by 2 teaspoons of garam masala, spice mix that I ground myself, 2 tablespoons of desiccated coconut. Then set the first cup aside until it's to be added to the sauce later. In the second cup add 50 grams of ground cashew nuts, grind them really finely, and 50 grams of pumpkin seeds. A little boiling water is going to be added to this cup later to make a kind of a thickening agent for the sauce. To the last cup then you add 2 tablespoons of dried fenugreek leaves and 2 teaspoons of caster sugar. Then heat some ghee in a heavy bottom pot. I'm using unsalted butter because they're very, very similar, and I used to use ghee, but it's not really worth the extra effort. And then you add your finely chopped garlic and ginger, 50 grams of each. Mix it up, fry it for about a minute before you add 800 ml of tomato passata. And you stir that up and bring it to a simmer and let simmer for about 5 minutes before you then add your first cup of the spices and coconut, followed by the salt, about 3 tablespoons, and 200 milliliters of water. Stir it up and allow it to simmer gently for about 10 minutes. The first time I made this, I tasted the sauce at this point and was so blown away by the taste. I was so excited for what I was about to eat. Then after mixing boiling water with the nut powder, you add that in and this really, really thickens it, a bit like a French roux. And if you're making this ahead of time, this is a perfect time to just stop and let it cool down, set it to the side before you continue on later, just before serving. After a little time simmering, you add your chicken pieces that have been taken out of the oven by now. Stir it all up. Add a little splash of water. And cover for about 10 minutes. Then add the final cup, which has the fenugreek leaves and caster sugar. Stir it up again. And finally add a little dash of cream, about 100 milliliters, so maybe more than a little dash, and mix that up. That's it, you're done. Just garnish with some coriander leaves and fresh ginger that's been cut up into matchsticks. This really is just such an amazing dinner. All your friends will be so impressed with you. I've just had a big plate of leftovers on as I'm looking at this right now. I'm so jealous of my former self. Thanks a million for watching. If you like this recipe or any other ones, be sure to subscribe to my channel below and follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And the full recipe is on my blog, www.rookiecook.org.